She's so funny. One of my favorite comics in the whole world. She's just charming as anything, and she lives in New York. And I'm just lucky that she hangs out with those of us who live out here in Boston. So please put your hands together for Srilata Rajamani.
Oh, hey. Thank you so much, Angela, and I'm honored and thrilled to be part of your really cool. You're the coolest person I know, like hands down. So I'm just super thrilled to be here. Yeah, my story is my theme for today was smells. So obviously, because I just had my first vaccine shot, I started thinking of the smell of fear. Which surprisingly is not about my armpits in the New York summer. Okay, so I'm getting that out of the way. But I'm not the most courageous person. Like over my longish life, and like I'm now like 47 years old. Over this time, I've had a lot of fears. Like when I was a child, my biggest fears were like rats, roaches, and lizards. I grew up in India, so it was like an ever-present thing, and I was deathly afraid of them. But also I was worried, like, what if any of these were gods? Like, I'm supposed to worship them, but I don't like them. I'm afraid of them. I hate them. So being afraid of something but still suspecting they could be a god, it's like, like a fear inception situation, right? I was always terrified as a child. And I mean, that fear continues. Like, I don't think fears can ever be replaced. They always are going to just be added on, sort of like a layer cake. Like, I think a couple of years ago, I was visiting my daughter in her apartment, in a like dorm apartment. There was a roach. I literally pushed her in front of the roach and ran screaming out the door to a cafe next door. And she still talks about it. She's like, Mom, I cannot trust you. I'm like, I would take a bullet for you. But she said, oh, but apparently not a roach, Mom. So yeah, that is me. Not ashamed. I'm terrified of them. Okay. And I confirmed they are not Hindu gods. So let's just get that out of the way. I'm not sure about lizards, but roaches are not. A rat probably is going to be a god because it is like associated with Lord Ganesha. So I'm not entirely sure. I still don't like them, but I will like drop a pizza here and there occasionally. So, there. But it has been like, when I was approaching middle age years, I was afraid of like my body hair, especially my pits and my lady parts hair turning gray. Not because I'm afraid of growing older, no, but it's like the disappointment that you see in the face of the person who is like waxing you is just like almost too much to bear. They look at you and they are like, oh my God, old and thick. Like, that is a combination. It's the thing I see in my parents' faces all the time. Like, she works in tech support and she does comedy, and always the end result for my parents is this: at least like we have a son who's doing well. So that that is the thing. I was always afraid. And like that, Zoom is not helping. Every time I'm seeing myself highlighted, I always check, is this looking like gray hair, like right here under the chin? It's a problem. So that is another fear that I'm still going through. But there is one fear that I never had, which is something that, people like my peers, like people who came as immigrants, like for technology, like, software type of people. I came here and I started working in tech. So, a lot of them, are now rich. And they have this is the thing. I was never afraid that I would be like them, as in in the middle age they are now Republicans. So I was never afraid of that, because they are rich, they became Republicans. But I'm way too progressive, and that was one thing. I was never going to be like them. That was my thing, because I'm progressive. Second reason being, I paid for my daughter's college. So it takes you out. Like, you can never be rich once you pay for your child's college, like especially if you paid for that NYU. Like, you can never be rich. Like, last week of the month, I'm basically sitting like like thinking what I should eat, and like whether I should buy like my next round of sanitary napkins. I mean, am I getting my period? Is it worth it? Like, that is like the situation. So it was always that. And I was never afraid of, like, never worried that I would ever be the kind kind of person I despise the most. Like someone who's like thinking that they are entitled to things because they make more money is the kind of person I despise the most. And I never thought I would be them. And then this happened. Around 3 years ago, I went on a hiking a holiday in Korea. So basically, I was like hiking mountains, like I would stay in temples in the mountains. And I was basically off the grid for almost like four weeks or so. I was like not having internet connectivity. So my last, like, and here's the thing, when I'm traveling anywhere, I am, basically like, I don't go for like, I don't pay extra, like, even it was a budget holiday, basically this one. I wasn't spending a lot of money. My air travel was cheap. And the seats I would always get were like the economy minus. Like if you think they are like, sort of like, in a prehistoric times, Fred Flintstone, that would be like me sitting on the wings, flapping my hands. So that level of seat is what I do. And for this, the day before I was flying back to America, I went to like the only place at this last temple near Busan where I was. I went down, I went to this one place where there was like internet access to connect to United Airlines app and then like select my seat like 24 hours before you can check in. So literally that was the time I selected my $0 extra, no legroom extra necessary, like no food, closest to the toilet, no backrest seat. And then I was then, I spent the rest of the time offline. And the next day I left the temple, no internet. And between the time I checked in to like, it was almost about 15 to 20 hours later, like when I next checked my phone, which was at the airport, I noticed that my seat had been freed up. And I also noticed that my ticket, a boarding pass thing, had like, go to the counter and speak to an agent. And I started freaking out because I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And you must remember, this was 3 years ago. So my first thought was like, is the American government deporting me? Like, have they seen all my social media posts critiquing everything? And, it made sense in my mind that they were going to deport me because I was in Korea. It was cheaper to send me off to India from Korea. They don't have to pay a lot in air travel either. So, that I'm worried and I'm like panicking and approaching the airlines desk, United Airlines desk at Busan airport. And they take a look at my, my passport, and then they say, oh yeah, don't worry. You are, you're getting an upgrade. So I got an upgrade to first class. See, shocking moment for me, and I'm presuming for everyone else who's listening. For me personally, because I've never gotten anything like that, luck happen, like not a lottery. I don't even win bingos unless it's like, it's like the hate bingo, like, like I think Kwasi Mensa has a joke about like being, person of color and queer and, female, like that's like the hate bingo. Like I would probably, be like, a right-wing racist person, like a QAnon person's like, Full House or whatever. That would be me. But I had never gotten any good luck. Like even, when my daughter was born, she was born on July 4th in the morning, and my OBGYN was on vacation. So I had someone else, a stranger attending, and I didn't even get an epidural. Like I'm like, it is like childbirth without an epidural is horrible. I know I'm supposed to say having a healthy baby is the best luck of all. Bullshit. Having a healthy baby without pain would be the best luck of all. Okay. I love my daughter, but seriously, was it worth it? I don't think so. So I've never had good luck, has never happened. So for me to get this was surprising. I'm just, oh my goodness, like, maybe all the good things I've thought of but never done, because I'm a thinker, not an action person, I guess. So I'm like, maybe God is rewarding me for something. I don't know. I'm feeling super like thrilled. And then they looked at me and asked like, how many luggages do you have for check-in? Like nobody asked you that. If you travel economy, if you say you have one bag to check in, they are like, how dare you, a waste of Earth's resources, try to slip this in free, you dirty piece of shit, pay extra. Like that's how basically they tell you, right? So I was like, I have one bag, and they were like, oh, you're allowed 3. And I'm like, This is how French Revolution began, okay? I was so angry. Like, but then I just gave them my one bag and I said, oh, is there anything fragile inside? So I then said yes. Now you must know, I was on a budget holiday. I had only stayed in temples in Korea and hiked everywhere. There are no gift shops per se. All I had was like, then there was no like, washing. I wasn't going to wash in like a forest because, forest doesn't do well with like people who look like me. We get killed. Okay. So I had 1 month's worth of stanky clothes in the bag, nothing fragile. If anybody opening that bag would drop dead, and that they would be the fragile person, not the contents of my bag. But I said yes. And so then they wrapped my bag in something like, in like a transparent like covering, and they put fragile stickers everywhere. And I felt cherished, you guys. I felt cherished. Okay. It wasn't the bag they were wrapping, it was me. And that was the moment I think my downfall began. They like walked me to the special entrance for all the first class people, which I didn't know was a thing. And then the flight attendant led me to my seat. The flight attendant, asked me if I need anything from my carry-on luggage that I need to keep readily. There was like a cubby, like a space to keep all your things, like, whatever, iPad and books and things. Not the, in normal seats, what they do, you have to put it in the back of the seat in front of you. And that bag also contains like a puke bag in there. Along with, you place your things with the puke bag. The puke bag may be empty if you're lucky. Sometimes it hasn't been. That has been my experience. So having an entire cubby was great. She helped me put things in the cubby, and then she put my carry bag in the overhead. I'm short, nothing reaches me. I have to tiptoe to get the overhead normally. She did that. And then I started feeling I'm literally the queen, the princess of this world. There was like so much leg room, unbelievable. Leg room has never been a problem for me, because I'm short. I'm like a T-Rex. So I can stretch even in like regular seats, short legs, a lot of room. But this one, if I stretched my legs and then placed another person between my legs and they stretched their legs, there was enough leg room for both. Okay. And they gave me like a comforter and like pillows, like the pillow that doesn't go it's like a bouncy pillow, like a pillow with like silicone breast kind of a pillow, like really bouncy. And I got into that, man. That was a lifestyle I could get used to, right? And that I started becoming this person. I started becoming like an Instagram influencer, a TikTok influencer, whatever you call it. Okay, I started recording everything with my selfie stick. I do have a selfie stick. I'm Asian. I started recording everything. I started recording what was in there and my reactions. I was recording my face and that, and I'm just going on and on, just gushing about everything. And then the moment came, the flight, they asked me before takeoff, they offered me champagne. And I said, I don't drink at all, but it's champagne. So I said, cool. Can you just put 2 pieces of ice in it and a cherry? Do people put cherry with the champagne? I don't know. But I asked for it because, God, I deserve it. I'm entitled to it. Then meal time. And see, because I'm in a special meal, I'm a vegetarian. So when the upgrade happened, the vegetarian thing didn't get transferred. So meal time happened and they offered me like a choice of like cordon bleu stuff, like, I don't know, Pierre Cardin chicken. I don't know what the hell that is. They offered me a bunch of stuff with French names. And I said, I'm a vegetarian. And they were like, oh my God, we are so sorry. We don't have a lot of options, but we'll try to make up something. Okay. And I was like, you don't have a vegetarian option in first class? How dare you? I was not just Karen. I was the Yelp reviewer, brown Auntie Karen. Call me Auntie Karina. That was me. I got super miffed. I was just like very snotty, and they got very apologetic. They were like, we are so sorry. We are going to try to make up something. And they made like a meal, like a buffet, damn it. And I'm an Indian. Buffets, I know, extensive. That was amazing. And then, they kept plying me with food for the rest of the flight, and I kept eating that food, so without saying no to anything, because you know what, I wanted to visit the first class toilet. Okay, you can't just go to the toilet and take a selfie. You need an excuse, right? So I then went, and then I came out of the toilet and I said, it's not too big. It's really like Really, me? Like, I travel in economy. I spend 16 hours going on a flight to India without using the toilet. That's me generally. How dare I criticize a toilet which had like nice toilet paper, which had seat covers. There was perfume, damn it, and flowers. But I was still like, it is small. All right. It is so small. How do people use this? All right. And then I think that was like, I was devolving into a monster, basically a toilet monster. They gave me ice cream because I was obviously the person who was sad about the food choices. I have a sore throat issue. I don't normally eat ice cream. I was like, I have a sore throat. Normally I don't eat ice cream, but since there are no options here for vegetarians, I will have this ice cream. But can you please make it into an ice cream sundae? And also please give me a hot green tea because I need something warm after that scoop of cold ice cream. And may I have a cherry on top? So that was me. I left that flight and I walked back and I started thinking, oh my God, if I ever really had money, I would be probably like running Trump's cabinet by now. So I am so glad I don't have money. Okay, God made this thing that Srilata shouldn't have money so she can be like a half decent human, which thank God. So the theme today was smell, and the smell for me, the smell of fear. What my fear smells like? My fear smells like a combination of vanilla ice cream, green tea, and a chocolate brownie. Okay, combined together is my worst nightmare because that will turn me into a monster. I'm Srilata Rajamani. Thank you so much.
Oh, give it up for Sri Lata.
Yes.
That was